Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by lineups.com. Nate and Josh here on a Tuesday with you guys after a big full Monday for MLK Day. We've got 5 games on the slate here for tonight. Going to be looking at some sides and totals. Also got player props in here as well. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Continue to follow along with us all season. Let's start off with definitely the best game of the night here, though, Nate, as you're talking about the Spurs covering on the road. They're on the second leg of the back-to-back, but you like them to be able to get the over 4.5 here.
Yeah, I mean, they've been the best team in the league on rest disadvantages this year. 6-0 straight up, 5-1 ATS, plus 10 margin of victory. Now, the Rockets have been good with a rest advantage, but this is more just about X's and O's and it being a very competitive basketball game that both teams are going to want to win. As far as like Houston, I was on this on Friday. They got kind of, barely squeaked out the cover against the Wolves, but same spread here, much better situation in terms of they have their best player, the Spurs. And they are an absolutely insanely good interior defense. Number 3, paint points. Number 3, opponent free throw rate, huge. Number 2, limiting OREBs. And Steven Adams is out, so that's not even an option for Houston. And when they don't get OREBs, they have a terrible offense. And that has been the case for a while here. They're dead last in field goal percentage in their last 9 still. Only covered once, and that was against Mini, and that's just, kind of like barely by a free throw. They're 26 in offensive rating. And, yeah, you're talking about Wemby now lurking on the interior, and you got to make some stuff happen on the perimeter for a team that has no shooting because they can't play Reed Shepherd because he can't guard anybody. And Amen can't even think about hoisting. And it's just like Durant, save us. And he has not performed well as his last 2 against Wemby. Şengün has been really shut down, 14.8 points per game, 107 offensive rating. His last 4 against Wemby. Wemby is totally ramped up. He's totally ready to play the full minutes. And the Spurs, their last 9 with him are 8-1 ATS. The only failure is that game at OKC with OKC throwing their absolute best shot to not get swept. Rockets will give them a good run here, but I just think it'll be close enough or the Spurs will win this one.
Yeah, I'm fine with if you wanted to hit like a Spurs money line too. I totally get that. I think I think everything for them from yesterday was like, yeah, we're playing Utah. We don't really need to play everybody full. They just kept everybody, lower minutes. They only won by 13, so I'm sure they would have liked to play Wemby like 5 or 6 fewer minutes, but it's 5 or 6 minutes, and he's starting. And I do think he continues to see 30 minutes in the games they need him when he's playing against good teams, such as like Minnesota and such in the last roughly 5 or 6 games that they played. So I'm with the Spurs in this one. Let's move to Lakers and Nuggets. We're in Denver, and that's what just a lot of what leads me to like Denver as a home favorite here, man. I mean, obviously there's going to be guys out for Denver here. Most notably, it will be Nikola Jokic, who's not playing. But obviously we still also don't have Cam Johnson or Christian Brown. And still for Denver, like since they've had that sort of lineup here, they've really had to rely on a lot more of Jamal Murray, who's at least rested in this game, which is definitely helpful. They're actually 4-1 though in their last 5 games, and in the last 5 with Jamal Murray specifically, they're also 4-1. He was missing for one of those, but I mean they're not beating world beaters by any means. But it's the same concept with the Lakers right now. Like neither of these teams are wildly impressive, really on either side of the ball. I'll say, I mean the Lakers have been better on offense, but they are so bad on defense that they still have a negative net rating, despite in their last 5 having an offensive rating of 122.9. And Luka's been around for a lot of that, and LeBron's sort of just picked up the heavy lifting without Luka when he's out there. But you look at some of the losses they've had as well: Sac, Milwaukee, Charlotte. And I might say Milwaukee is the worst loss in there with the way that team has been playing and folded against teams recently as well, like Minnesota when they lost by 30 without I believe Ant and Gobert were out of that game. So I don't really trust this Luka Lakers team. This offense is so brutal, or excuse me, defense is so brutal with Luka out there that I still think Jamal is going to have a massive game in this one. And I do like Peyton Watson, at least, and the sort of different guys that they'll be throwing on Luka at different times. Bruce Brown will be out there off the bench to definitely pester him as well. Like, I think they'll at least be able to limit what he does. And nobody's really shown me that they're going to, other than maybe Marcus Smart, maybe he's the X factor, but no one's really shown me that they're able to step up and take advantage of the way that the Lakers offense is running right now.
Yeah, Lakers defense is real bad. And if you're worried about the Denver defense dealing with Luka and LeBron, then you could probably just hit over in this game. 228, yeah. Not that intimidating. The Lakers, they need to offset that defense by scoring, and then I think they will have some success on that end. I got a prop from that game later, but Heat are -3.5. I got it at -2.5. It's moved a little bit away, but I think still playable here. I mean, we're still just fading the Sacramento Kings, who have Sabonis back, and he's looking good, but he's still going to be, on that kind of trade showcase plan where you play 20 minutes off the bench. You're like, look, he's lively. He's alive. He can play basketball if you want to trade for him. And that just does not help like overall team chemistry and mojo, you'd think. I think it also just doesn't help like when you have a double big lineup, which they're going to be throwing out there pretty much the entire time against the Miami Heat, who just have such versatile bigs, guys who can guard their bigs, but then also keep it moving, keep that space and pace game that they love going. And that game, which is much better when Tyler Hero is not in, and he's going to be out for an extended period here. That probably is music to the ears of guys like Jaquez and Norman Powell, who are just like, great, let's just keep this thing rolling. The Heat are 18-14 without Hero. They score 8 more points per game. Their defensive rating is also 2 points better, so markedly better on both sides of the floor. They've lost 6 of 7 with him, including getting embarrassed at Indy, which is packed in the season. And they've covered 5 straight without Hero after a loss. And we're on a back-to-back here, like many teams. But the Heat this year have not been the same kind of terrible back-to-back team. They're 5-3 straight up. Norman Powell being one of the fittest guys in the NBA, having a lot to do with that. And this hot streak for the Kings, like, let's just throw a little water on that for a sec. They're still bottom 5 in defending the rim. That's not better with Sabonis in there. They are probably the luckiest team in terms of opponent shooting. They're allowing 26% on open threes, 28% on wide open threes. Those are both the best marks in the NBA by far. And when you see something like that, you're like, that's not necessarily great defense. That's just the other team missing.
Yeah, they definitely have that stuff. Shot quality is actually a pretty helpful statistic for those of you. I mean, I'm pushing a product here, but like I when I use it, it's pretty good. And yeah, some of the teams that you look at right now at the bottom of shot quality, it's definitely an inverse correlation to the Kings here winning. They've got really, really ridiculously lucky, like you said, coming against them. Other teams should be scoring a lot more points against them. So yeah, as long as the Heat are somewhat, they've looked good, man. They've looked good against good teams. The fear would more than anything would be that they play down to competition because of how well they played against pretty good teams. But I think this is a spot here where you just keep fading the Kings. I'm okay with that. But look, man, it's a small slate. There's injury reports are still not even out for entire games for both teams for 2 of these 5. So I'm going with a guy who was already ruled in yesterday at the same time that he was ruled out for the Suns game on Monday as well. And he's coming back pretty rested because he hasn't played in 2 months. And really, this is just, we've got a dude who loves to come on the court and shoot. That's what he loves to do all of the time, whether he's flying to the rim with his top 10 athleticism in the league or whether he's pulling up off the pull-up, especially, like he's trying to score. He put up he had 23 minutes, put up 20 shots, got to the line like 8 times in his first game back this season, which was in early November, before he then went down the next game 2 days later. This was both against the Clips. And he went off against the Clips, like we just said there, for what was it, 29 points in 23 minutes, 20 shots. So I just think he's going to come back and do a lot of the same in this matchup. I'm not saying like this is a great matchup in terms of off-ball stuff, because Philly has been good limiting sort of catch and shoot things. But Jalen Green isn't necessarily just going to be sitting there playing off ball of Devin Booker. He's still going to do his thing and go to the rim. We'll see who's even available for either team. I mean, there's a possibility Booker sits. He was questionable for a few games leading up to this. We've seen Brooks sit on the 1 or 2 of the nights of the back-to-back. So I think Jalen Green's going to have some opportunities here, and 15 plus is going to be a nice, easy, not easy, but it's going to be something that he's going to just be a volume.
Yeah, you're probably encouraged by the comments from Jordan Ott that, like, we just wanted to give him the extra day. Like, when he sits the front end of the back-to-back, it's like that probably means he's fully physically ready to go. And we're just going to pick our spot here and not, like, limit his minutes considerably. I was looking at Grayson Allen as well, but I mean, yeah, you want to find out if Booker or Brooks sits, because I think Grayson is still undervalued just because Jalen's coming back. He scored 16 a game in those 2 with Jalen in there, and he's just been chucking lately. Man, he's taking 14 threes per game in his last 4. Grayson Allen and Philly, but I mean, that same thing for Jalen. They will let you hoist from deep, from like a couple feet beyond the arc, and they will let you create your own 3, and they'll just try to limit spot ups. So it works for either guy. Player prop here is Gobert at 11.5 points. I say that with some surprise because the narrative is about Ant Edwards on the All-Star snub. I don't know how he is not an All-Star with this season, if it's a games played thing or what. But Gobert, probably going to benefit a little bit from the fact that Ant's going to be pummeling the Jazz here. His prop is rising to like 31.5 points here. And there's a chance Naz Reid does not play, which would be make you feel a lot safer about Gobert. Probably also move this number though. He's played 37 minutes a game without Naz this season and two. But it's also like a little bit of a revenge spot. Every time he's gone back to Houston in 3 now, he has scored at least 12. He has 17 points per game, 139 rating, plus 30 in his 35 minutes per game. Now he's facing a Jazz team that literally doesn't have a center. They do not play a center. They do not try to protect the rim. They're still league worst in their last 15, and they've been even worse at home, allowing 78% at the rim. They've also been allowed the highest offensive rebound percentage, nearly 40% in their last 6 home games. So you wonder, like, how's Gobert going to get his offense? He doesn't have a post game. Well, he's going to clean stuff up. He's just going to benefit from Ant drawing 2 or 3 and finish plays. And he was, getting it done, hitting 3 straight prior to facing some really tough matchups in a row. Cleveland twice, Spurs, Rockets. And so now we just go right back to it. And one of the easier matchups out there, just assume he's going to get his double-double most likely if you do want to combine the two things.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. You really distracted me because I'm like, who would you start him over? Now I'm just like, who would Ant even start over in the All-Star game when you're like, he's a snub? I'm like, yeah, he's a snub, but I guess you could start over Curry. That would be the only guy that you're like, that kind of makes sense. But between Luka, SGA, Nicola, and Wemby, it's wild out here in the West. So you're just pointing out how silly it is. And I'm sure you're not the only one that was like, wait, so who's playing where on what team? But either way, for Gobert, fine with this in this matchup, especially. They should handle business, but it really doesn't matter. Like I think he'll be. We'll even see if Nurk is out there, and on the second night of back-to-backs, if Nurk's not out there for much, Gobert's just going to take Filipowski and chew him up and spit him out. So I'm going to stay in this game and sort of correlate it a bit. I do think Julius Randle is going to keep coming with the dimes. 5.5 is not a number I love to play for him. It is consistently plus money, and this actually opened at like plus 122, and clearly some people agreed with me as the market pushed this down to about even money, and even like minus 105 in some spots. But the key here is, like, I still think that like a fair projection for him is 5 assists. And then you just give him a little bump up to 6 because you're playing one of the 3 easiest teams to get assists against. They give up the 3rd most assist opportunities on the season, do the Jazz, because they give up a ton of catch and shoot as well. And Julius is actually averaging more assists per game with Anthony Edwards playing with him than without. 1 full assist more with Ant out there rather than without. And that's at 5.7 per game with Ant, which is most of the games of the season. Ant's only missed about like 7 or so games. So yeah, you look at the 2 games prior to this, he put up 12, he put up 7. This has blowout written on it by the spread, I would agree. But this is one of those interesting Jazz games where they're at home. Lauri Markkanen is back after not playing the front end of the back-to-back and a bunch of stuff. They did their weird wonky stuff on Monday, playing guys against the Spurs in different ways and playing a lot of Walter Clayton and other bench guys. Bryce Sensabaugh also sat in that game, should be available for this one. I think they were just keep making sure that they lost yesterday, which was always going to happen, but making sure it didn't look as weird when they brought guys back in for this one and they still have a chance to lose despite all their starters. But I think they'll at least be competitive in this one. And Julius will be out there for more than like the 26 minutes he played when he got 7 dimes in the last meeting.
Yeah, I also agree. It's not looking like a blowout to me. That's why I am taking a starter for the Wolves. And I think your logic is sound that Randle's going to dime up more when Ant is in there, especially if Ant is just gunning for the points in revenge mode. And Randle go right back to that point forward role we've seen. Deandre Ayton, don't laugh, Josh. Dominating, going for the PR here. He's been pretty good his last 4, including, actually perfect last time out against Toronto, a team that was missing their center, Jakob Poeltl. Now he obviously gets the Nuggets without Joker, and they start Spencer Jones and Ago, and that, while Ago is a really good defender, I think he's going to spend a lot more time on Bron or Luka, kind of being that versatile chess piece on defense. And they're just going to be like, yeah, do what you want, Ayton. Like, we ain't scared of you. Nobody is. But Toronto played it that way, and he was cleaning up on those little short roll plays. And Denver, since losing Joker, is allowing the 5th most attempts in that short roll area, 5 to 10 feet. They're bottom 10 allowing points and rebounds to centers, forcing the 4th fewest turnovers, allowing the 3rd most rebounds per game overall, because their offense is nowhere near as efficient, of course. This is the only non-back-to-back of the entire slate, so it is one that we can kind of count on teams playing a little bit crisper and having a little bit of a better rhythm. And that is what Ayton highlighted in his last one, where he was able to shoot perfectly. He's just like, I just felt in rhythm playing off Brown and Luka, them drawing attention and just dropping it off to me. And that's now going to be the status quo for the Lakers with AR's been out for a couple weeks now, and they're just kind of settling into that role on offense. I won't say anything positive about their defense, but I think he's going to benefit from those two pick and roll maestros setting him up.
It all makes sense, man. It all makes sense. It should happen. I don't trust him, but I also people, we have our own personal preferences on betting because of our own, biases and past performances and past fallacies and whatever. I've picked the wrong moment in time with DeAndre Ayton, but there's so many times that he's going over this, especially with Luka, that it makes complete sense. So I just know he's not going to get there via free throw points. That's something I do know. I'm in Thompson. Love the man, but this is not a good spot for dimes for him. And I just don't think 5.5 should be it. We've seen this as low as 4.5. I'm just sort of drinking the juice here on a -150, but I've been okay with these sort of 5.5, 4.5 boards or assists for a guy that you're like, this is not going to happen with the usage and the way that this offense runs. It's not a good team to try to get assists against. Neither of these teams are. I also like an under on a guy like Dylan Harper's assists. I think there's little 3 to 4 to 5 assist props that you can go under. And I don't think that this total is not very high. And I don't think it should be for good reason. Both these teams, especially with Wemby out there, are going to just sort of deter things, right? Amin had 8 potentials in their first game in 39 minutes, and it's probably going to be the same guys out there. We'll see if Tari's playing. I think he's still questionable, but that's the only guy. Doesn't impact Amin. At this point, there is nobody that impacts Amin. So it's not really about minutes because there's still a very good chance he plays more than 38 minutes in this game, as that's about what he's averaging now. But I don't like any of it. I think the points are a little bit low. They're 16.5. I might feel better. I know it's splitting hairs a bit, but 17.5 would make me feel better to go under for him. If you wanted to do PA under, something like that, I'd be avoiding the rebounds. I think that might even be an interesting bet, is a negatively correlated parlay for Amin, where he goes over on the boards, under on the dimes, because the boards are something where it makes sense for him to come in off of, on either on the offensive or even defensive, where Şengün and Adams are let me make sure that I box out the gigantic Frenchman on the other side. Then Amin comes in with a little bit more freedom to pick up defensive boards rather than the centers actually being able to pick them up, which is an angle we constantly look for. But yeah, as far as the dimes go, it's not something he's doing consistently. He's actually had to run pretty hot on his assists when he's gotten them, getting six assists on about 8 a couple games ago. Other than that, it's not something he's doing very much now, and this is just another bad matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Steven Adams is out. I don't know how that's going to impact him with the rebounds. Just checking quickly. I mean, yeah, he's gone under 5 of the last 7 on the assists without Steven Adams, and those have been in some pretty good matchups. So I mean, I wouldn't fade the points necessarily. I know it's a lot of juice to drink, but I think you can kind of project him to do the scoring for the Rockets more than a Şengün or Durant as far as hitting their props, just because the Spurs are so good defensively and they muck things up. And that's kind of where Amin Thompson thrives. It's the only shots available are these quick slashing moves. So I do think he can get there on the points, but I think it's fine to fade the assists.
Gosh, yeah. That's all the time we have for you in this one, though. We got the 5 games today. We've got a pretty big slate tomorrow as well. So we're coming back rest of the week and moving forward. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Until we see you next, happy betting.